Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be showing you how to build a EUROSTYLE custom terrarium that measures 22 wide by 17 deep by 24 tall. Two of this size terrarium fit perfectly on a baker's rack shelf. The tools necessary to complete the job are as follows: 1/4 inch glass for the actual terrarium, 1/8 glass for the doors, ASI aquarium grade silicone black and clear, a caulking gun, masking tape, duct tape, a straight edge, razor blades and X-Acto blades, Sharpie marker, door track for 1/8 glass, 1/4 inch L-track, carbon fiberglass mesh screen, a 5/8 inch hole saw, a power drill, nitrile gloves, and sculpting clay. Now, let's get on to the build. Alright, here you can see this is the bottom pane of glass here. And what I'm going to be doing is showing you the masking process. And you need to accommodate for the 1/4 inch of glass that's going to be sitting on top of this piece. So as you can see here, I've already done that. I've drawn with a straight edge and a marker on the back side of the glass so I can wipe it off when I'm done. And that is going to be the 1/4 inch of glass. And now what I'm going to do here in the next step is mask off about an 1/8 inch gap for the silicone bead. You could do 1/4 inch, but I think that's a little wide in my personal opinion. So I go for about an 1/8 inch from the marker line that I made. Now it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but as you'll see here, I'm laying down the tape and just trying to get about that 1/8 inch gap. Like I said, does not have to be perfect. So you're really just accommodating for that piece of glass and then giving yourself that 1/8 inch spacing. And on the bottom pane, you're going to want to do this for all sides besides the front. There is an important step on the bottom piece. You need to accommodate for the front substrate dam that's going to be there. So you are going to need to cut these pieces of tape on the left and right side towards the front a little short. And here I'm just showing you a close-up of the edge for the glass and the little gap for the silicone bead. And there is an important step here which I'm showing you. For the front sill dam, you're going to need to cut the tape on each corner for that piece that sits right alongside the front. You'll see here, because you have these two small pieces that sit on each end, and this is how the bottom piece should look when you're done masking it. Here's the back panel. Now for masking this, the bottom and the top are sandwiched in between the bottom panel and the top panels. So they don't need to have that extra 1/8 inch. You just need the single 1/8 inch. You can see the small space in between, and the sides have the 1/4 inch for the glass and the 1/8 inch for the silicone. And here we're looking at the side panels. I'm only going to show you the one because they are the same, and you don't need to accommodate for any of the 1/4 inch glass because this piece is sandwiched in between the bottom, top, and back. So you just need the 1/8 inch gap all around. And you do need to accommodate for the braces of the substrate dam, as you can see like I am showing you here. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory. This piece here is the substrate dam, and this is the side that is going to be facing the interior of the tank. And you need to just do an 1/8 inch spacing on the sides and the bottom because it's sandwiched between the side panels and the bottom panel. And on the front side, after the vivarium is built, the side you can actually touch, you need to accommodate for the 1/4 inch of glass that sits there with the substrate dam braces, and then you're going to have the 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch gap for the silicone. Here we have the top panel in the rear portion. Here you have to accommodate for the 1/4 inch of glass on the sides and the back. Now the front side you don't need to figure anything because that's where you're going to be meeting up with the vent for the top. So 1/4 inch on the sides and back and a 1/8 inch gap for the silicone, and you're good on this top panel in the rear portion. Now on the top panel on the front, you just need to accommodate for the 1/4 inch on the left and right side and the 1/8 inch gap for the silicone. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to build the terrarium. Now, I will say the real time took me about 30 minutes to put the base of this tank together. And my best advice I can give you is not to panic if anything slips or falls. It's just silicone, it's just glass. As long as the glass doesn't break, if you make a mess with the silicone, it's easy to clean up with a razor blade. It may be a little time consuming, but it is easy nonetheless. So as you can see here, I do have duct tape placed along the bottom and back panels, so when you put the panel in place, you just lift the tape and keep it locked in there. And as you can tell, I had a little trouble with my substrate dam, but no need to worry, just lay it on a bead of silicone and set it down. I've got to find some way to prop this up now that I have the back panel propped up with tape alongside the side panel. It still keeps falling, so I need to do a little bit of ingenuity and create some braces out of some tape to keep it from falling forward. Now what I'm going to do is put tape along the back side and put the side panel in place and keep it locked in. And you see here I did forget to silicone the side panel of the substrate dam. No need to worry, just untape it and then put silicone down and reattach it. Now at this point, the foundation of the terrarium is complete and it's time to go around and double check your work. Make sure all corners and edges are lined up and we'll go from there. Something important that I do want to tell you guys about the glass. When you're ordering the glass, you're going to want to ask for the edges to be sanded smooth, so you're not going to cut your fingers. Also, when the panels meet up, if it's a sharp edge and there's any play in it, it's more likely to crack than if it's soft like this. So as you can see here, my edges are lined up, and you can also see that they are sanded. So you want to double check all corners, all edges, and just make sure everything's looking right in the way you want it to. And there you have it. The next thing we have to do is silicone the seams on the interior of the tank. So just run a bead of silicone along every edge that meets up, along the back, bottom, sides. We're not putting the top on just yet, so you don't need to worry about that. But we are going to want to do the substrate dam and the substrate dam corners. So you do all along the inside, just like I'm doing here. Once you're happy with everything, now it's time to take the Sharpie marker. We're going to use the back edge, the rounded edge of the marker, and go along the sides and just run it down, smooth out that silicone for a nice clean edge. You can use your finger if you'd like. You could use a Sharpie marker, you could use a silicone tool, anything you like, but for the tight gap on the tanks, I do think the Sharpie marker makes a nice clean edge. And you'll see here that I did forget to do the seam where the substrate meets the sides and the front. So I'm going to grab my silicone gun here. One quick bead there, and another quick bead here. Don't forget to smooth out that silicone with the marker. Once you're done here, this step is basically complete. And now what I'm doing here is removing the masking tape that you lay down so you can get rid of the excess silicone and expose your clean edge. Now I will say you're going to want to do this relatively quick because you don't want the silicone to start setting up. If it starts to set up and dries, when you lift the tape, you're also going to lift that bead of silicone that you laid down ever so cleanly. So here I'm doing the front edge with the silicone. And you'll see there still is some tape left up there because on the original masking, I was accommodating for the 1/4 inch of glass on the sides. But after realizing that the 1/4 inch is actually sandwiched, I put more masking tape down to make a tighter 1/8 inch gap rather than what I had before. So just be patient with this step, removing all the tape, exposing the clean edge of the silicone. And you're only going to want to do this on the back, bottom, and sides. You do not want to remove the tape from the top yet because we haven't placed the top panels with the silicone. Moving right along to the top rear panel, we're going to lay silicone along the side, back, and other side. Flip it over, set it in place, and we're going to need some anchors to keep it attached to the glass for a nice tight bond. We're going to use some duct tape here. I put it along the sides and the back. And now it's time to do the top panel in the front. Bead of silicone on the left and on the right, and flip it over, set it in place. Now I have tape for the clean mask line. I'm going to undo the top portion so I can put the tape directly on the glass to keep it anchored. And now it's time to smooth out those silicone beads on the inside. So grab your Sharpie marker again and repeat the previous steps. Now would be the time to remove any masking tape that you still have on the inside of the terrarium. So you'll see me here removing all sides, and it is exposing that nice clean bead of silicone. Now I will say, if you get silicone on the glass from your fingers, fingerprints, don't sweat. It's easy to remove. Just take a razor blade, some acetone or alcohol, microfiber towel, and wipe it down, and it comes up pretty easily. So here I'm still removing the tape, having a little bit of trouble with it, as you can see, because it does stick pretty well. I use the Frog painter's tape, and now I'm going to lay the braces for the substrate dam. So I lay some silicone, lay down the braces, set them in place. Make sure the beads are nice and clean. Repeat the step on the other side. And remove the masking tape on the dam now. This was a little tricky because of the duct tape braces that I made on the back side of it. The tape kept getting caught to it, and you see here I get hung up. Just lift it up and set it back down. Same thing here. Everything's looking nice and clean. Remove the masking tape on the braces. And we're getting close to the final piece of glass on the terrarium, which is the front dam air duct. It's this piece here. This piece is as simple as laying a bead of silicone on the left side and the right side, placing it up to the glass, and keeping it anchored with more duct tape. And now, the terrarium, as far as the glass goes, is finished. That wasn't so bad, was it? Now, what we've got to do is come back on day 2 and clean up all the silicone, which I'm not going to show you guys that because it's terribly boring and really annoying, but you got to do it. So this is day 2, and we've gone ahead and cleaned up all the silicone off of the glass, or as much as we could clean it, I should say. And we are about to start the door track and the vent for the doors. So what you're going to need is some 1/8 inch door track. So you can see there the bottom track is not as tall as the sides or the top. And that is so you can get the glass out or put it back in. And then also you need this L track, is what I call it. It's like a little elbow, corner, whatever you want to call it. Needs to be 1/4 inch, because that is what's going to keep the screen to the glass. So you lay a bead of silicone down, and then you're going to put this elbow down on top of it to keep the screen on the glass, on the front and the back. And then this is the carbon fiber glass mesh screen that I'm using. You could use stainless if you want. I've used stainless in the past. It's a little more expensive, but I think this will do the same thing. And now it's time to apply it. Alright, I've got all my pieces cut and measured at 21.5 inches wide. And you see here I'm using the ASI black silicone, which is what you're going to want to use. Now, obviously put on some nitrile gloves. And all we're going to do is simply lay a bead of silicone along the edge of the glass where the screen is going to lay on top of. So go along the side. Now, I will say I should have did the back piece first, because I would have been able to use my fingers as a guide. But I did the front piece. I still managed to do the back piece pretty smooth, As you can see, yeah, I did mask everything off, so in case I slipped, the glass wouldn't be terribly hard to clean up. So, and there's the last bead. Now I take my screen and place it carefully. You want to start on one side and go down just like you're pretty much unrolling a rug. And now we're going to put on the elbow track, or L track, whatever you want to call it. Make sure it's in there snug. And then you're going to want to put the front piece on here. I use a Q-tip to kind of mat down certain areas that were sticking up a little bit. And now you're going to put the front L track on. And just go along, make sure it's sitting there snug. This next step is not 100% necessary, but what I like to do to keep it looking clean on the edge, I take the elbow track and I split it down the middle. So I have two little flat pieces. So I'm going to cut that and then split it in half so I get little flat pieces here. And you can see I still have the elbow. Now I'm just going to split it with the X-Acto knife, push down on it, separate it, and now you have two flats. Just lay it right over top just to keep that door vent looking nice and clean. And here's a little close-up of how the vent should look. Now this is before you clean anything up and take the tape off, but that's what you want to see. And now the next step we're going to do is sand the back of the door track just to get a nice little scuffed edge on it so it'll adhere better to this plastic piece. Also take some alcohol and clean the back of it. So we don't want this door track coming loose. So follow these steps, and we're going to just lay some silicone down right on this front edge. Try and do it as nice and neat as possible. And we're going to set the track down. Push down on it, make sure it's nice and level. And at this point, there's nothing left to do besides tape it down with some anchors and let it sit for 24 hours. I did remove the masking tape on the inside of the air duct, just because I know the silicone that's black is still wet, and you want to remove that tape while it is still wet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, but I am going to leave the anchors still attached. Now it's time to apply the door track. As I already did previously, I have the bottom track already installed. So now I just need to install the top and the sides. Now on the top piece, each end you want to have mitered at 45 degrees. And on the side pieces where it meets the top, obviously you want to have it mitered at 45 degrees as well. But the bottom, you can leave 90 degrees flat. So once you have everything attached nice and firm, what you're going to want to do next is remove the masking tape so you can have a nice clean edge. And now what we got to do is grab the duct tape that I'm going to be using for the anchors and simply apply it to keep a nice strong bond between the door track and the glass. You don't want to put too much pressure where you're actually pulling the door track away from it. Just press down with your finger, keep it firm, and then lightly put the tape over top of it. You don't want to actually smear it with the tape. This will keep it in place, and you're going to let this sit overnight, at least 24 hours, for a nice strong bond. And now I'm going to give you a little close-up of what the track should look like. We will be cleaning all that silicone up, so it looks nice and neat. Now we're moving on to the vent at the top of the tank, and basically I just laid some tape down so the silicone wouldn't fall through, laid it along the side, and I am going to lay another bead on each side here on top of the glass. Use the flats on the ends and the elbow bracket on the back and front. And it's as simple as that. Lay it on the back and use tape to anchor it in place. The sides you don't need anchored, they sit right on top. Also do the same thing you did on the back on the front. And you're going to want to have those anchored and leave them for about 12 to 24 hours. Then you can peel off all of the excess silicone to reveal your nice clean look. And then after it is dried and you've cleaned up all the silicone, it's time to attach the screen. which we're going to do by just simply laying a bead of silicone all along the track and then basically doing the same thing we did on the door vent with this vent as well. And this is what the finished product should look like. Now I will say I could have made it look a little cleaner along these edges here on the left and right side of the tank. I could have put another flat piece down over top of it to just clean up the look a little bit, but to be honest with you, this is a tank for my personal use, and I know that I'm never going to be seeing this track ever because it's going to be on my rack system and I have light shield, so I never will see that screen. So for me, this was good enough. And as you can see in this little walk around, I think it looks just fine. And this is how your tank should look at this point in time. At this stage, you can see that I've put the glass doors in and they fit perfectly. Now, for me, this tank is not complete. I still need to drill a hole for the misting system and also drill a hole in the back of the tank for the drainage. Now, you may not have those requirements, so that would be up to you. But for me, I have just a couple more steps and then the tank is done. Now here you can see that I've marked off a spot for where I'm going to drill the hole. I literally took a ruler and measured 11 inches because that is half of 22, which is the width of the tank. So I know it's going to be dead center. Now this is the drill bit I used. It's a diamond tipped hole saw, 5/8. Milwaukee is the brand. Now here, this is the modeling clay that I used to pretty much make a little ring around the drill that I'm going to be doing. And you're just going to want to press it flat against the glass so it'll actually hold the water. Now you don't need to use modeling clay. There's other types of clay you can use, but being that I am an artist and I'm a sculptor, I do have Super Sculpey modeling clay. So that was the first thing I grabbed. You're going to want to pour a little water in here, which I decided was not enough. Now this is an important step. When you begin drilling, you want to start at an angle and at a medium speed. And then as you go faster, tilt it up to where you're 90 degrees and just drill. Don't push down on the glass. Let the weight of the drill do the work and the actual drill bit do the work. You don't need to put pressure on the glass. It's a lot of stress on glass, and that's how you end up cracking it. It gets too hot and you put too much pressure, and then you have to put a whole new piece on there. So as you can see here, I'm just drilling away, and I have tape underneath to catch the glass and also to catch that liquid, which here I can tell that I have gone through, and it's time to clean out the water, which I'll do here with a paper towel. You could use a shop vac, whatever you want, and then pull the tape out, and you've got your glass. So your hole is made, and I'm going to grab my standard Mist King nozzle assembly and double check and make sure that it fits through the hole, and we're good to go. Now for the drainage hole, I again measure exactly half of the tank so it's dead center, and I measured it up 3 inches. So fill with water and repeat the same exact process you did on the top. Start at an angle and slowly work your way straight. Now I am at a ×8, so obviously looks like I'm working super fast. It took about 4 to 5 minutes to drill this hole. Same thing as before. The tape is there really just to catch the glass and also so you can wipe all the liquid water out and not get it on the inside of the tank, because that stained cloudy glass is annoying to clean up. So you can see here, it's good to go. I'll press on this and show you. We're good to go.